Welcome to the Voices of the Goddess podcast. We believe that there is a goddess inside each and every one of us. When we use our voice to share that goddess, we support and uplift each other. Join us each week as we interview women to receive the message of their goddess within.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Voices of the Goddess. I am Allison Mancini, your wellness warrior.
And I'm Julietta, the magical PT. We are so glad you're joining us today for more insights into tapping into the goddess within so you can achieve all your desires. Today we are joined by Erika Axani. Welcome to the show. We're super excited to have you. Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Oh, sure. And a quick snapshot. I'm a mom. I have two amazing 4-year-old twins, a boy and a girl. I have an amazing husband that works just as hard as I do. I'm a mom. I have two amazing 4-year-old twins, a boy and a girl. I have an amazing husband that works just as hard as I do.
Can we close this one? Go on live and start over.
I think it stopped.
Woo!
Okay, that was a first. Holy cow.
I never thought I could get sick of hearing myself talk, but that was close.
That was awesome. We just need to move forward because that's what we talked about. Imperfect action, right? Okay.
Perfect action.
Okay, so perfect. Erika, start back and introduce yourself again.
Well, we know I'm a mom and then I have a hardworking husband. And final, I love yoga. That's kind of my piece. And I'm a luxury real estate agent here in primarily Fort Lauderdale area, which is why I need yoga in my piece, because trying to juggle, I work every single day. I want to spend lots of time with my kids and I want to spend lots of time with my husband. So between those three things, I'm pretty busy trying to run into a yoga class as well.
You make it happen. You are a goddess. So welcome to our show. We're going to dive into our questions here. Mm-hmm. And we know for sure you have superpowers because you wouldn't be able to do everything you do without them. But what is your superpower, or what would you choose one to be?
I would say my superpower, and I talk to my husband a lot about this, is it's very easy for me to read a room or to read the person that I'm talking to. Zoom has made it definitely more challenging. But I would say that I can tell if I'm speaking with someone, if they would like me to shut up or if they would like me to kind of go further. If maybe they want to start talking to me more about something going on. I can tell if a woman is uncomfortable with me. That happens a lot when you're working with a man and a woman, and then a woman agent approaches and wants to help. I can feel kind of insecurities and things, and so it's my goal to kind of shut that down and immediately become a friend and someone that you can trust. I think that to me is what makes me good at what I do, even like with other parents. And there's always kind of that awkwardness when you have kids, who maybe my son the other day got in a little fight at school, and I was like, he's 4 years old. It was over, crayons or something. And to be able to just, hey, call the parent, talk it out, and kind of feel where they might be coming from as well. We became instant friends, and they're coming over Friday for tacos, so that's my superpower 100%.
Awesome. That's a great skill to have.
Thanks.
Especially when you're dealing with other parents. That's an amazing skill to have, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Julietta, I feel like you're like that too, when you're and you can read someone's energy. And, this probably goes into, I know, our next question, but I can always know to not take things personally. Like, let's get past whatever this barrier is, and you can immediately become friends with people in that way. And it's a good feeling to have in your heart when you're working with people.
Yeah, that's a huge skill. not taking things personal, because I think it's so easy to take everything personal, and knowing that whatever comes out of someone is about them. It's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can recognize that, it makes it so much easier to not escalate things, and to use your intuition then to shift and bring things back into your favor. Like,
Mm-hmm.
You could be like, oh, this mom's mad because, your child like attacked their child. And, it's easy to like, they attack you and then you attack them back, and understand that, they're just in the space of like, I'm worried about my child. And then when you realize like, oh, this mom's worried about my child and their child, like, we're just moms,
Mm-hmm.
we're worried about children, and like,
Yeah.
we can bond and connect on that. And, so it's all how you take things. And, and as women, like, not all women realize this, but we are all hugely intuitive. If we just
Mm-hmm.
allow ourselves to tap into that, it can help us in so many ways. So
Mm-hmm.
don't ignore that intuition that you're feeling. So question number 2 is, what is a book that has greatly influenced your life?
Well, the biggest lesson I learned is not taking things personal, and it's from the 4 Agreements. The 4 Agreements to me is just literally, when I was in college, I would have them listed on my visor, because, not just being impeccable with your word and not taking things personally, but to not assume, especially when you're driving and someone cuts you off and slams on the brake and you're like, what a jerk, they did that on purpose to me because they're mad that I, didn't use my whatever it is. And then meanwhile, don't assume, maybe they're racing to the hospital for a loved one. Maybe, who the heck knows? So to me, the 4 Agreements is probably the greatest book ever, even just as a quick reference. Always do your best. I mean, always do your best. When you don't want to wake up in the morning and you're like, oh my God, I got to pack the school lunch. Like, you're just like, I might just go back to bed. And it's like, no, that's not my best. I'm going to check on my emails. I'm going to go get my workout in. I'm going to go and follow up with that customer. Like, and then I know when I do those things, I feel amazing. And I just want to keep like that day going, and then that puts on to other people. Me feeling amazing makes you feel amazing, makes him feel amazing. And maybe that guy that was in a rush won't be in such a rush because, he got treated amazingly, So that's my
Yeah, we forget how much, like, just every little interaction that we have with people, it has a ripple effect throughout the world,
Mm-hmm.
because we contact one person and then they come in contact with, and it just keeps going and going. And the changes that we could make in this world, if we just stopped ourselves from having negative interactions with people, the whole world would shift. It would be amazing.
It would be so great. I just wish more people could read the book and then know that, to feel that way instantly, where you don't have to go through the process of trying to work down their barrier or whatever it is to try and really connect with people.
Yeah. What I also love about that book is that it's a short, simple, easy read. Like, the information in it is profound and deep and, life-changing. But, some of these books, they're like the Bible. They're like, you can get through it. But the 4 Agreements, like, you can get through that book so easy. So, like, just read it, everybody. Read it.
Just read it. It's a handbook, literally. Carry it in your purse.
Exactly. What were you going to say, Allison?
I feel like, and I'm saying this because I know, Erika, you have 2 4-year-olds, and like, in my head mentally, I'm like, I should have kept a required reading list for my kids as they become, you know what I mean? Like, I should have, like, there's all these amazing books that now that my kids are 24 and 21, I'm like, you need to read this. You need to read that. Like, but some of these books, like, I should have been reading them to as like bedtime stories. So the 4 Agreements is another one. I'm like, yes, I need to tell them they've got to read that book. Like, I feel like so many of these fabulous books, like the 4 Agreements, are ones that our kids should be required to read. They have all that required reading in school. Give them something that they're going to be able to pull from and use successfully in life, you know?
Yes.
So it's a great book.
That's a great, I'm going to write that down actually. Start listing my books for the kids.
Yes, it's true. It's true. Yeah.
And there are some of these books that, like, there are kid versions of them, like, for them to, you know, start learning those messages. And, you know, like, yes, the Four Agreements is definitely, while it's an easy book, it's pretty much for, like, over the heads of 4-year-olds, but the messages can be translated into 4-year-old language that they can understand it and start to live those concepts. So
yeah, and I think the good thing about, you know, us as parents knowing that book and knowing those values, that to me is just something I always pump into them, even without even recognizing it, you know, to just do your best at school and be impeccable with your work. You know, I tell clients all the time that are maybe not from here and they're, you know, traveling in from wherever, they don't know me from Adam. You know, they can look me up on Zillow and see all the, you know, declarations of love from previous clients and things like that, but they don't really know me. And, you know, I pull up in a nice car and, you know, I'm talking to you, but do you know that I have kids and they mean everything to me? You know, so I always tell them, I say, listen, I'm not going anywhere. You know, this is where I'm raising my children. So I promise not just, you know, the facts, you can look everything up that I'm telling you, but I'm not going anywhere. And I need to look, I can't look, you know, bad in this community. So I will always do the right thing. I will always be impeccable with my word. I will always do my best for you, because that's a reflection onto my kids, and they're the most important things to me in the world. So I think once you can kind of relate like that with people too, that just kind of pulls out the whole professional, but I'm a person too, which I think with people kind of forget these days with technology, but that's a whole other podcast or whatever.
yeah. All right. Every goddess needs to take care of themselves. So, Erika, what is your favorite self-care practice?
Besides visiting you, which I love, getting all my body back in order and sorted out, which to me has just been a blessing. Yoga, 100%. Yoga is not just for my body and my health and my, you know, as far as my physicality of everything, it's my mental. It calms me down. I do a hot vinyasa flow, so it really tests you in not just your individual poses, but in your, you know, being able to handle an hour class in intense heat. And it forces you to focus on just what you're doing right there, which means you have 60 minutes of not focusing on everything else that's going on in your world. And you kind of wake up afterwards and realize that you have a clearer head and you can kind of dice through everything that's been on your plate for, you know, however long.
Yeah, I think yoga is one of those things that's like on top of people's lists here. There's, you know, meditation comes up often, and yoga definitely comes up often as well. And I love that people are getting the concept that yoga is not just the physical aspect of it, but there's the mental aspect, the spiritual aspect of it as well. That's, you know, why it makes it so great is because it does transcend multiple layers in life. So
yeah, for those that don't really know where to start or go, if they're watching, I really love the yoga joint, and I love it because there's a Bikram style practice in town that you take a sip of water and you're in trouble. You know, they kind of say no water, you know, and you're like, it's 95 degrees. I'm going to take a sip of water. And in the yoga joint, it's, you know what, come in. If you want to lay there in child's pose the whole time and just kind of get situated with the heat, that's still a great practice of humbling yourself. You're going to see people in there that have been doing this for 10 years in handstands, and you have to be okay being in child's pose and not trying that yourself, or trying to do these harder poses and being the beginner in the class, which, I mean, think about it. Everyone wants to walk in the room and be the best. that's like always the goal. I don't, there's a billion real estate agents out there. I want to know that my customer feels I'm the best. So that transcends into my yoga. I walk in, if I see everyone doing handstands, I'm like, I'm doing a handstand today. And then I'm like, no, your body is not, you haven't been to yoga in 4 days. Like, relax, do a child's pose, do whatever pose. So there's that mental struggle too. There's a lot of type A's you'll notice in this kind of class. And to me, it's a great humbling. It's a great, mental clearness. It's a great physical. It really just encompasses everything. And then the minute you think you've nailed it, you realize that you've got a long way to go, and you start perfecting your poses more and really digging in deeper. And it's just really great.
So I started doing yoga. My kids were little. They were like probably 5 and 7, and they're now 24 and 21. And hot yoga was always my favorite, always has been. But one of the things I find so interesting, and this just speaks to the whole self-care and mental side of it, is that as my kids got older, and if we were going through difficult things, and I know Julietta knows this, but both my children have had health issues that we've had to deal with, and going through that mental side that I learned in yoga of just being able to ground myself, center myself, just patience. Because it's one of those things when you're in hot yoga and you're in a pose that you're going, initially your brain goes, wait, how long am I holding this for? How many breaths, right? And then you just have to get to this place where you're like, okay, no, that I got this. It's all good. And you just kind of get into your zone. And I find that plays well when you're raising kids, when you're in your profession. It really helps you to mentally be able to handle stressful, tough situations, whatever you're dealing with. And that's one of the things I love about yoga. And I think, like you said, Julietta, I think that's one thing. Like, it seems like yoga's kind of got this thing where it's all about this fitness exercise, which it is. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's people that are super fit and can do amazing things in yoga, but there is such a mental side to it for sure. And I think, so beneficial to just every day. So I love yoga. It's one of my favorites.
And the cool thing, like both of you guys are talking about hot yoga, but there are so many different styles of yoga. So if hot yoga isn't for you, it doesn't mean yoga's not for you.
Right.
Go try a different style of yoga, because there are so many styles out there. And
I like the online stuff when we were during, in this pandemic, obviously, we weren't going to hot yoga classes with 50 other people. So just to have like that online link and kind of practice at home on your own was very nice. It's kind of like you can fit it in when you can. To me, I noticed I have to put things in a schedule. So even though yoga has 10 classes a day, I know I'm crazy from 9 to 5 sporadically. So I'm like, okay, there's a class at this time. I write it in my schedule. I'm going, just like brushing your teeth. With any workout, to me, it's like, it's just as important to keep your mind right, whatever workout it is that day. Pilates too is a great one with yoga, because it keeps your core strong and it just helps your yoga practice develop better. So I put that in my schedule, and to me, that's what keeps my mind clear.
Agreed.
Awesome. So that kind of brings us into our final question, which is, how do you create accountability in your life?
Oh, I did just answer that kind of, huh? I do that. Well, at least we're all in the same kind of flow here, right? Accountability. Well, I mean, you could go personal and say my kids, they keep me accountable, like in a all around basis, but everything goes in my calendar. To me, to be responsible is a big part. We're managing contracts, multiple millions of dollars where the deposit's due here. They can't get the deposit back by this date. And to think in my, I'm knocking on a lot of wood. I've never in my career cost a client money or lost a deposit or anything, because I am so set on, okay, this is a schedule. I want to alert myself a day before that is not, that they have this one last day. Are you sure you're comfortable with this purchase? So every single detail is in my iPhone calendar. I have to, that's what keeps me together. And I'll add things like I said, my workout, when to pick up the kids, what sports they have, call Sean, remind him to pick up the kids. I mean, every single thing that I need to remember goes in my calendar.
I find that a lot of women, and specifically type A personalities and successful women, are very calendar conscious. They time block, just like you said. You look at the yoga schedule. When am I going to fit that in? They time block that in. I mean, it's so critical. That's another thing I've taught my kids. Got to learn how to like use a calendar and time block, or, especially when they get out adulting and they're on their own and they're working. Think about it in school. No one ever teaches you time management. They don't teach you how to do that stuff. That's kind of our job. And I find that is so, a calendar for sure. And it's funny that you bring up the kids keeping you accountable, because we had another interview recently and she said the exact same thing. And I was like, holy cow, that is so true. And even still, as they get older, and I'm sure, Julietta, you can attest as an adult, are there not times you're like, Dad, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like you still hold your parents down.
My dad is perfect.
I know he is.
And you're listening to the show too.
I know he is.
Hi, Dad. I hear a lot about you.
But it's so true. Like, our kids totally hold us accountable. I mean,
no
doubt.
Your parents are influential. Like Sean, my husband, he was a basketball player, and his mother would bring him late to practice. And if he was late to practice, the entire team suffered. And so he would tell his mom an hour earlier, because it was the only way he was getting to practice on time, or he would have, he would make it his own way to be there on time. So the athletics really is what got him, I think, accountable on his time. For me, it goes back really to the beginning of being sensible to other people's, aura and their feelings. I cannot stand being late. If we're running late, I'm like shaking. It really, really bothers me, because to think that the person waiting for me, I don't value their time as much as whatever it is I'm doing, reapplying mascara or something, that to me is the biggest insult ever. And I work on that daily, actually, because on if I have a showing appointment, I'm there early, really setting up the house. If I have dinner arrangements, I'm there. The only time I'm not on time is when it's something for me, like, I want to make it to my friend who has outdoor yoga at her house, right? And I'm like, I would love to be there. And I'm like, I'll be there. And then I'll notice that I'm so busy with clients or whatever that this extra little kind of bonus, and they're not waiting to start the class without me. I'm like, crap, I'm not going to be there on time. So or if I have a facial appointment or something, I'm running late because it's something for me, and I'm trying to back up everything I need to do for the kids, my clients, etc. So I think I have to work on making that time for me be okay, and hold myself just as valuable as I do to my clients and my kids and my husband when it comes to being on time for them. So,
well, we talk about that a lot too, in that, like, if you're not taking care of yourself and putting yourself first, eventually you run out of gas and you're not going to be able to be there for the other people that you want to be there. So, people think that putting yourself first is selfish, when in fact it is the most selfless thing you can do, because you take care of yourself so that you can be there for those that you love and you want to look out for. So,
yeah, that's one of my favorite sayings. And I learned this in yoga. They would say, you have to put the mask on you before you put it on your kids in the airplane, right? That's what we're doing right now. We're masking ourselves so that we can go out. And I'm like, that's perfect.
So true. I say that all the time. You just have, because I suffered for not doing that years ago, like 12 years ago now. I got really ill, and it was basically because I was taking care of everybody around me and everybody else and making sure their needs were met, and this was done and that was done, and I suffered. And I learned that, just like I say that all the time, you've got to put your mask on first, then put everybody else's on. And even when I have those moments when I'm like sitting down for myself, because I like to journal in the mornings and meditate and do a little bit of reading, and those mornings that I feel rushed and I feel a little guilty, I'm like, no, I have to put my mask on first. Like, I remind myself that all the time.
Great. Yes. Good.
That would be like a good, post-it to put up on your mirror, just that reminder, put your mask on first.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Somehow that goes like with COVID too, I feel like.
Don't forget
We're all masking. Oh, man.
We're all masking. Oh, man. Awesome. All right.
All right. It's time for our takeaways, lady. Allison, what was your takeaway from today?
I think it's just even more so the reality that, as Julietta knows, and Erika, we've talked about this in the past. We did a lot of research before we started doing this podcast, and we found one of the things that most women were asking and needed help with was how to find accountability in their lives. And we've gotten a lot of different answers, but today we actually got twice the same thing that you said was your kids. They hold you accountable. And I think, and that goes beyond your kids. It's your significant other, your family members. I mean, those people do hold you accountable. And I think we have to remember that when we go into a setting, just like you said, Erika, with the community, being a realtor in South Florida, you have to uphold, certain values, and that's accountability to the community. So I think all those things, when we really look at it and think about it, we are held accountable every day by those around us. And that has just been my huge takeaway from today.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is really simple. I wanna reread the 4 agreements. Like I've read it more than once for sure. I don't even know how many times I've read it. And there's just a beautiful simplicity in it that I love. And just you talking about it, it's like, I want to read it again. So it's on my list. I'm going to do that.
Yay.
Erika, what's your takeaway from this morning?
Well, I'm going to read it again too, because it's been a while.
We're all reading it
deeper. Yeah. I love the idea of jotting down books for my kids. This is definitely going to be at the top of that list, and just kind of reinforcing those details. But even just bringing up meditating, that's kind of my goal of my next, I guess now it's a new year, you have your whole goal set up. I think I would like to start meditating more. And I'm really glad you brought that up, because I keep forgetting. And I was with my trainer this morning, and I noticed he's like all over the place. And I was like, do you meditate? And he goes, no. And I'm like, I can tell, I think we all should, make that a nice practice. And so I think that's my takeaway, is really just making the time to point out the books for my kids and to meditate.
I have this idea too, like, what if you start meditating with your kids? Then you get it, and it's a skill that they develop now that just becomes a lifetime. All you moms out there, start meditating with your kids.
If I can get 4-year-olds to meditate, then I have the greatest business.
I was thinking the same thing.
Moms will flock their kids to me. I can get them to do yoga. They like to do yoga, because the poses are just so cool. And, they have the kids yoga, the animal poses and stuff. So they do that. But meditating with them would be great.
Well, and we have this expectation that this meditation has to be 30 minutes long. Even if you sat in silence for a minute, start there. And it could be this thing okay, let's see how long we can stay silent today, and set the timer and see what happens, and see I'm this is an experiment. Let's make this happen.
Who can be quiet the longest?
That's a good thing. And you know what? But that's the thing about meditating, is that I find a lot of people don't do it because they think it's difficult, because they think in their heads they think they can't think about anything, and that they have to sit there for eternity. And the reality is, when I first started meditating years ago, I literally did it for just 3 minutes. 3 minutes, and I used a guided meditation, and then I built it up and built it up and built it up. Now, still, I will be honest, to this day, I can't go past much more than 20 minutes. And I know some people that can meditate for an hour.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it's totally impressive. I just can't do it. But I like that idea, Julietta, about who can be quiet the longest. Can I do that with my adult children?
Yeah.
They have the app Insight Timer. I don't know what you use.
That's what we both use.
Yes. We both use it. We love it.
So good. And it's whatever mood you're in, it says, here, how about we meditate about this today? Or if you want music, you don't want music. If you want someone to talk, you don't want someone to talk. That's the greatest app, I think, for meditation. Beginners and, further.
Love that.
I'm going to meditate after this.
All right. Yay. So it is time to wrap up, ladies. This has been great. Lots of fun conversation here. Thank you so much for joining us, Erika. It's been fabulous having you here.
Thank you.
Do you want to say anything before I wrap us up, Allison?
I'm going to let you go for it. You got it.
All right. So thank you, everybody, for listening in today to our show. If you enjoyed what you heard, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and our podcast when it's coming out here. And check the show notes. We'll have in there all the resources, how to get in touch with us, and the books and any websites that we talked about. We'll have the information in there, how to connect with all of that. And I want to wish you all a very magical day.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, Erika. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, Allison. Thank you. Bye, Julietta.